Howdy, 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 howdy. We're talking measurement, we're talking geometry, and we're talking area. So we're on lesson 4. We just finished talking about area of rectangles, as well as finding perimeter and creating a formula to find both of those things. And now we're going to find the area of parallelograms. And before we do that, let's just see what our objective is. That's to develop and apply the formula for the area of a parallelogram. And to warm up, we're going to calculate the area of the following rectangles using its formula for area. And don't forget, that formula is, of course, area is equal to base times height. As we've said earlier, a lot of teachers prefer area is equal to length times width. Same thing, okay? But we're going to call it base times height. So go ahead and feel free to pause this video, figure out the area for each of these rectangles. So 3, 2, 1. Thanks for doing that. I'm sure you guys wrote the formula first because that's we always do that because the formula helps keep us organized. It's an important step in showing your work. I'm sure that you plugged in 5 for your base. If you put in 3, it doesn't really matter. You plugged in 3 for your height. And I'm sure you found the area that way. And I'm also sure that you put down your units squared because we're talking square units. And I'm sure you circled your answer. Thank you for doing that. Cool. What I think is cool about this is that since we have the grid lines, we can actually count the square units, square centimeters. And look at that. There's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. Cool. Our math is proven. There we go. Same thing over here. Follow all these steps. 8 times 6. Yep, you should have had 48. Awesome. Now we're warmed up. Let's talk about parallelograms. Well, to calculate the area of a parallelogram, it looks like it's going to be really hard because, as we know, a parallelogram is just a rectangle, but it's lazy. It's leaning over. Okay, so how the heck are we going to do it? Well, we have to go back to our rectangles and we have to look at the relationship between the base and the height. So take a look between our height and our base. What angle are they forming? Yeah, you betcha, a 90-degree angle. It's a rectangle, so of course it's 90-degree angles. Okay, but that's the relationship we need to see between our base and our height is a 90-degree angle. And that's what allows us to multiply base by height, and that's why we get these square units, because squares have 90-degree angles as well. So now back to parallelograms. How the heck are we going to do that? Look at this angle. That's not 90. That's not 90. So how are we going to multiply our base times our height? Well, if you look at this diagram here, the height is drawn on the inside of the shape. And look at this line, this height line. Look at the relationship it has with the base. Yeah, you betcha. It's forming a right angle, a 90-degree angle. And since we have our base and our height forming that 90-degree angle, you bet we can multiply them together. So the steps are this. Number 1, you find the height. And in our diagram, or in our problems that we're going to have, the height will be listed for you. Okay, so find the height. Don't get confused, though, if they have like, hey, 10 centimeters there, 15 centimeters here. Don't think that this line is the height. It's not. It's just the side of the parallelogram. It doesn't matter for area. What matters is the base and the height forming a right angle. That's what matters. So anyway, find the height, step 1. Step 2, you're going to find the base. And again, we know that their base and their height, if they're forming 90 degrees. Okay, next step, we're going to multiply the base and the height, just like your rectangles. And then you're going to have your answer. So here's your example. Parallelogram here. Notice its sides are 7 and 5. Okay, we're going to call 7 the base because it is what's forming that 90-degree angle with our height on the inside. 5 doesn't matter to me right now. I don't care about it because I'm calculating the area. So formula first, beautiful. Next, we plugged in the numbers. 7 for our base and 4 for the height. Multiplied it, and look at that. I forgot to circle it. What a bozo. Boom. Okay. Now, why does this work? Oh, sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. The formula for this, of course, is area is equal to B times H, or base times height. Okay. Now, why the heck does this work? Like, why can I take the height from the inside and multiply it? And how does that give me square centimeters? Like, it makes sense on a rectangle or a square. We can see how the height and the base are forming these perfect squares, right? They're beautiful. Okay, I think, at least. I don't know. How's that going to work on a parallelogram? We'll check this out. Where we drew that height, forming that 90-degree angle with the base, if we took a pair of scissors and chopped off that chunk and moved it over here, look what it forms. It turns into a rectangle. So essentially what we're doing is just making this parallelogram into a rectangle. And when it becomes a rectangle, yeah, you betcha, we can multiply the base and the height, and that's going to give us these perfect square units. Okay, so whenever you're timesing your height of a parallelogram with your base, that's essentially what you're doing. You've chopped off that last little chunk, you've moved it over to the other side, and congratulations, you just created a rectangle. Okay, so that's what you're going to be working on assignment 4. Please, thank you for writing your formula first. Thank you for showing your work, plugging in the numbers as perfectly. I'll do this yellow one here for you. So what's my base going to be? Is it going to be 4? No, it's not forming a right hand or a right angle with anything, so it can't be it. Nope. 3. Well, 3 can be my base because check it out. It's forming a right angle with the height. Look at that. So 3 goes in for base, and my height is also 3. Last step, 3 times 3, of course, is 9. Got to have my units squared. Got to circle my answer, and boom, we're done. So that's what you're going to be doing in this whole assignment. Have fun. Good luck.